All right. Well, yeah, so thank you, Cindy, for that introduction. My service year with through GrizzlyCorps was spent at the EcoFarm Association, which is, as Cindy mentioned, in charge of running, organizing, programming for, and kind of organizing the entirety of one of the largest organic farming and sustainable farming conferences west of the Mississippi. And my specific capacity building project with EcoFarm started off being really helping build out social justice into their more technical programming, including their Spanish language track. But as I'll kind of show over the course of this presentation, there was definitely a lot of fluidity in terms of what my role was with EcoFarm over the course of this year. So yeah, let's get started. So I'll just go over a brief history of EcoFarm as an organization, and then what I was doing for capacity building for EcoFarm, the conference itself, the Spanish Advisory Committee, and then some personal reflections. So EcoFarm has been happening for 44 years, since 1981. They have been serving this conference, which started off initially as a group of organic growers, kind of pioneering the organic movement, quote unquote, as we call the more modern iteration of organics as we know it currently. And this kind of initial group of farmers came together to convene and share their own farming practices and use the conference, this yearly event, as a way of distributing information, finding collaborations across organizations, and then also just celebrating the work and innovation and really hard labor that growers across California and beyond are engaging with. Yeah. So some of the conferences that EcoFarm have hosted very important agricultural figures, including but not limited to Vandana Shiva, who is featured here, along with Winona LaDuke and Alice Waters. In this right image, you can also see Drew Rivers, who's one of our main board members, who kind of pioneered EcoFarm also. And it was initially called the Committee for Sustainable Agriculture. And in one of their first years, they brought harvest baskets to the California state capitol legislators in order to demonstrate the importance of local farm fresh produce. So a lot of EcoFarm kind of comes out of this idea of resistance to larger industrial ag, especially in the state of California, and has continued to kind of find that as their organizational vision and mission. So my personal capacity building endeavors with EcoFarm kind of can be split into 3 chapters. There was the pre-conference, which really had to do a lot with preparing programming for the EcoFarm conference itself. And what that looked like for me was finding various ways to increase access and equity and representation at the conference. So thanks to the encouragement of my site supervisor last fall, I spearheaded the Indigenous track programming. So got to reach out to Ade Romero Briones, who works with the First Nations Development Institute, and her and I worked together to build out an Indigenous track that had a bunch of people from across the state of California and beyond who are working with food sovereignty and land back, and working with kind of traditional ecological knowledge to create a couple different workshops that could be presented at EcoFarm. And additionally, I also helped to build out the Spanish programming at the conference. And this included working with an interpretation team, along with a bunch of different Spanish farmers and growers to help them plan out their workshop descriptions and a couple special events. And then also the pre-conference also included grant research. So working to find interesting grant opportunities for EcoFarm surrounding urban agriculture and community engagement in urban spaces across California. And then the part two was working the conference itself. And that was definitely a marathon. It was actually 6-ish days of pretty much nonstop on the ground, putting out little fires, figuring out how to get certain materials from one place to another, breeding and facilitating the smooth execution of various workshops and speakers. And it was really fun and a very full 6 days. And then the post-conference was has been really interesting also. The conference happened in January. I probably could have mentioned that at the beginning, but it was a very interesting kind of season because it allowed for this arc build up over the first half of my service year to January, when the conference occurred, and then afterwards has been this kind of reflection period where I created the conference report, which entails pretty much all of the statistics and historical stats, and then stats from this past conference, along with creating and distributing and then processing through the data of all of the individual participants' evaluations of the conference. And then the other post-conference work that I've been doing has included continuing to run and organize the Spanish Advisory Committee for EcoFarm, as well as stepping into a more program coordinator role, which has been definitely a huge learning curve, but also really interesting to organize planning committee events. We have a main planning committee of about 45 stakeholders that are responsible for voting for the programming for the following conference. And so I've been the primary liaison between the planning committee and our EcoFarm staff. And then finally, one of my favorite parts has been getting to attend other conferences. I got to attend the Latino Farmers Conference in the fall, and then Pioneers Conference this spring, which has been really great to also kind of see how other conferences are programmed, organized, and structured, and hopefully take back some learnings to continue to improve EcoFarm. Yeah, so here's just some photos from the conference itself. I got to hand the Gourd Award on the left during our banquet to our awardee. And then in the center, you can see this is the building Fred Farr. The entire conference takes place on the state park of Asilomar. And so that was also another, an entire other kind of aspect of this was having to plan for a conference and work with a state park that also kind of added an additional, I guess, organizational level. And then on the right here is one of the amazing chefs in the kitchen moving some veggies. So here's just some regional stats about what communities EcoFarm serves and has represented at the conference. It's predominantly Californians, and 84% Californians. And then within California, there are there's an interesting distribution, largely Central Coast, but then also a lot from the Bay. The Southern California representation is, I think, growing slowly, but I think that's another thing that EcoFarm is hoping to continue to encourage, is trying to create more regional access as well. And then out of those who aren't from California, there is a pretty even distribution about who attended. As you can see here, this was just a little workshop highlight. Mas Masumoto had an amazing keynote that was largely one of kind of broad consensus. It was one of the larger programmatic highlights of the conference, with over 600 people attending the conference itself, or the keynote itself. And then, yeah, just to talk briefly about the Indigenous track. So this was a really amazing part of my service year was getting to work closely with Ade Romero Briones, and she is incredible and was really eager to help moderate a bunch of the workshops that EcoFarm had featured. And here are a couple of other really amazing speakers. We have Elizabeth Cade, Rebecca Tortes, Priscilla Kinney, and Neil Kafar, and all of them were really integral in kind of bringing a more land justice and social justice perspective to the conference, which is largely known for kind of being in this kind of this rut of a little bit more technical programming. So this was a huge hit. All of the rooms were beyond capacity, and we got huge positive feedback, and just like really interesting content. So yeah, and then to hear some highlights from our Spanish programming as well. We had 8 workshops in Spanish, and then an evento comunitario, which was a kind of mingle party with lots of fun, fresh drinks and food for people to just come and hang out. And that was one of my responsibilities, was organizing that alongside a couple of our super volunteers, is what we call them at the conference. Yeah, and in the interest of time, I'm just gonna fast forward through this a little bit. Here's some more photos. So yeah, the final thing that I just wanted to share was my work with the Spanish Advisory Committee. This has definitely been one of the most meaningful parts of my service year, has been getting to work with folks beyond EcoFarm to convene. So each month we have, at least once a month, it's been once to twice a month, that we've all met together and talked not only about how to bring more Spanish programming to EcoFarm, but also just how to collaborate across organizations in general. And I think that's the best part of the EcoFarm Association, is the cross-pollination that it facilitates. And that's definitely something that this is something that I felt really proud of, was getting to build out and develop close relationships with pretty much everyone on the Spanish Advisory Committee, and just kind of see the light in everyone's faces during our Zoom meetings, where it ended up just being lots of back and forth talk about who's doing what and how we can support each other in our various missions and objectives. So it's, yeah, way more of kind of a space of convening, which has been really awesome. And then this is some folks from our Spanish Advisory Committee meeting at Alba in Salinas, and during a summit that I organized this past May. So just some final reflections. I don't believe that there's anyone from EcoFarm on this presentation right now, because some of our staff is actually in the process of interviewing for a new program coordinator. So I'm gonna speak with particular candor right now. There was a lot of dysfunction this past service year, and I extend a lot of gratitude to Cindy, as well as lots of my fellow Grizzlies, for kind of being really wonderful listeners and being very present as I have processed through kind of a lot of the dysfunction that I had to experience this past year. And I feel so grateful for everything I've learned. I've learned a lot about about the kind of relationship between staff and board, and mission drift, and what it means to be a good supervisor, what it means to set boundaries, what it means to ask for what I need, and identify when what I'm being asked is not within my job description or within our contract. So it's been a year of a lot of communication and learning. And while it might not have been exactly the year that I had anticipated or predicted, it definitely has brought me so much professional development and community, and hope for the future of sustainable agriculture in California and beyond. Just hearing the stories of so many growers and getting to be a part of that has been a huge gift. So yes, I think that's generally time for this presentation, but just want to say thank you to everyone who has been a part of my Grizzly experience, and it's been an unforgettable year. So thank you.